Hi everyone, my name is Tim and online you could also find me under the name of Dutch Lion Customizing. In my spare time I enjoy water cooling builds and making case mods for personal use and also for events. I'm honored to be in the ambassador program for Bitspower and to be the Mother of the Month of the April 2017. Bitspower has asked me to make a few videos about either modding or water cooling for people to either just be interested in or maybe learn something from. I've chosen a subject to make a couple of videos for the very early beginners, the people that do a custom loop for the first time in their gaming system. I want to show people that it's not as complicated as you think. In fact, we are going to water cool an average gaming system using a single graphics card in a medium tower, and we're not going to use a drill, anything to fit it, so everything is just going to be fitted out of the box. My first video I want to do right now is like the very first basic step of what kind of hardware do you need, what kind of water cooling products do you need to make a complete custom loop. I'm going to change the position of the camera for this, and I'll see you later. Okay, so I changed the position of the camera so you can see what's on the table. We have a couple of water cooling parts right here. Basically, when you buy an all-in-one water cooling configuration, they're the same parts, only you don't see them separately, and they're already pre-fit together in the fabric, in the factory I mean. So let's start with what we have here. I have here a radiator, I have a complete pump, a D5 pump with a D5 pump top, I have fittings, I have tubing. These are, as you can see, for hardline tubing. This is a reservoir, I have a graphics card water block, and I have a CPU water block. So what do we start with? Basically what you want to do with water cooling is cool components in your system. Pretty much always the CPU will get water cooled. This is the newest Summit Bitspower water block. You can see it by the small badge in the corner. They say they also improve performance. Basically this is what you will need. I did not pack all the other stuff that goes with it, or not showing it because it will be too full on the table. Basically what you have is this side will go on top of the CPU, or fit it in the corners, and you have an inlet and you have an outlet for the coolant that goes in and out. So you need a CPU block. The other thing you might want to water cool is your graphics card. This is a graphics card from Bitspower for the reference 1080 or 1070. Basically it's like the CPU block. This side goes onto the PCB. Here will be the GPU itself. It'll be fitted like that when you see it in the system, with the PCB on top of it and a backplate on top of that, which Bitspower also sends with it. And this is the adapter with on two sides, either inlet or an outlet, depending on where you will put the stop fittings. So these are the two parts that will take the heat out of the components and put it into the coolant. So next up is how you get it out of the coolant. That's where the radiator comes in. This is a 280mm Bitspower radiator. It has openings on both sides for in and outlet, and it has, as you can see, you can fit 2 or 4 140mm fans on it. Basically what it does is when coolant gets warmed up in the water blocks, because the heat the components give up to the coolant. It has to lose that heat somewhere else. That's where the radiator comes in. You have either put the inlet here or there. The water goes through the lines horizontally, and there's all kinds of fins in it that makes if you blow air through that, the fins get warm from the coolant, and then the cooler air will take the warmth away by blowing it through the fins. And that's basically like a heat exchanger. It tries to get all the warmth out of the coolant by blowing air through it. Then the water comes back, it does it again, and it comes out as cooler than when it comes in. And then it goes back to the blocks, and it goes back to the radiator, and that's how a loop is formed. The next part you will need is how to actually get coolant to run through your system, and that's where these two come in. This is I think a new type, a very small footprint reservoir. So a reservoir is basically something that you put in your system to hold the coolant in, and which you can use to bleed the air out of the system. It's a combination with the pump. I know this is a new product by Bitspower. Bitspower usually, or in the past, did not sell the D5 pumps as well, but this you can actually buy now as a combination. It's completely pre-fitted, comes with the Bitspower top for its pump top. It comes with their awesome looking anodized pump covers, and it comes with a D5 Vario pump. The D5 Vario pump is powered by this Molex connector, and it's manually changed in how fast the pump will spin. If you're 1 to 5, very high water pressure or not so high water pressure. And this is even easier for beginning water cooling fanatics, because this means it's completely pre-fitted, it won't leak, and it's easy to use. The holes are in the exact correct position, and it looks great as well. Now the rule is that we have gravity in our world, so we place the reservoir above the pump. You fill up the reservoir, and just because we have gravity, the water will go down through the opening and into the pump. It makes sure that the pump will never get dry, because if the pump runs dry, it actually will stop working in a very short period of time. Then the pump will get the coolant up to speed, pump it out into where you want. So it might go into the radiator first, or in the graphics card first, or in the CPU block, but anyway you make a loop with it. And then after the last part of your loop, it comes back into the reservoir and down again into the pump. When you fill up a system, you will notice that there's air in this, and air in the radiator, and by continuously pumping it, the coolant will at some point take over all the empty spots in it, and the air will come bleeding out of the reservoir. The last part is how we connect all these things. Basically, nowadays all water cooling manufacturers use the same openings on their blocks, on their tops, on the reservoirs, on the radiators, etc., etc. I'm not sure how to pronounce it exactly, but it's you will read it as a 1/4, so 1/4 sizing. These are 4 fittings for hardline tubing, and I've grabbed a piece of hardline tubing with it as well. This is PETG from Bitspower. Basically, what you do is you place stops on the openings you don't need, and you place fittings in the other openings. There are O-rings inside and on the bottom of the fittings that will make sure nothing comes out. And you use tubing, whether it's soft tubing with different fittings or hard line tubing like this, and you can connect all the parts with it. And when you connect all of them, you basically have created your own custom loop using a reservoir, using a pump with a pump top, using whatever water block you need to cool the hardware you want, and the radiator to get all the heat out of the system again. That is in a very, I think, short explaining the basics about how water cooling works. The water comes, heats up due to the blocks, and loses its warmth again through the radiator and comes back into the reservoir, and this just goes on and on and on. There are many more things to tell about how to make it as effective or efficient as possible, but that is not what this first video is about. The next video I'm going to talk about radiators and radiator size. So what do you buy, how big does it need to be, and how do you fit it, etc, etc. So this was it for my first video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video.